coming up. Okay, we are live.
Hello, good day, good afternoon, good morning to each and every one of you. Happy Sunday. As always, it's such a pleasure coming into your homes on a day such as this. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's staying hydrated. And I hope everybody's practicing the safe distancing. Well, as usual, we're coming to your homes to speak to you so that you also get a chance to speak to us and ask us questions as to what's going on. Right now, I'm waiting for our host, Nia Song, to come on. So, Dr. is he on?
Yes.
Brother Nia Song, are you on?
Hello, good afternoon. I'm on, but my gadgets are not fitting the way they should. Hello.
Yes, we're live.
Yeah, I'm live. I am actually on the phone because the usual connection I do doesn't seem to be working this morning.
That's okay. Go ahead and just broadcast from the phone. It's all the same. We can still hear you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good afternoon, and welcome to everybody. This is Africa Online Media Corporation, and I hope that I'll be able to participate the full length of the time. And here we go. Let me see. I was trying to scroll down on my laptop here for the editorial or the reflection. It's more of a reflection than an editorial. But I hope we are all doing fine, locked as we are, locked down as we are, and wishing everybody well and hoping that things are going the best way they can. I know I missed you all last Sunday, but all the same, things happen for a reason. We thank God that we're still alive, that we're breathing, and that we are together. That said, it is May. It is the 5th month of 2020. It is May 3rd, the 124th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. There are 242 days left until 2020 gets out of the way. It is also May 3rd, the 3rd day of the month. It is, of course, for those who keep track of history, it is World Press Freedom Day. I know Dr. Bonga knows about that.
Wow.
World Press Freedom Day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in December 1993 to celebrate the Windhoek Declaration, that is, the Windhoek Declaration for the Development of a Free, Independent, and Pluralistic Press, is a statement of press freedom principles by African newspaper journalists. They did that in 1991. The declaration was produced at a UNESCO seminar promoting an independent and pluralistic African press. And the seminar was held in Windhoek, that is the capital of Namibia. The meeting lasted from April 29th to May 3rd. The document has since been viewed as widely influential as the first in a series of such declarations around the world and as a crucial affirmation of the international community's commitment to freedom of the press. This day, this World Freedom Day, is a reminder of the fragility of press freedom in the face of political violence and emerging authoritarianism. As the world celebrates, though in a muted social and physical distancing environment, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says, quote, as the COVID-19 pandemic spreads, it has also given rise to a second pandemic of misinformation, from harmful health advice to wild conspiracy theories. The press provides the antidote: verified, scientific, fact-based news and analysis, end of quote. The main theme for this year's International Press Freedom Day is journalism without fear or favor. And sub-themes for this year's celebration include safety of women and men journalists and media workers, independent and professional journalism free from political and commercial influence, gender equality in all aspects of the media world, Press Freedom Day, and World Press Freedom Day acts as a reminder to governments of the need to respect their commitment to press freedom. It is also a day of reflection among media professionals about issues of press freedom and professional ethics. It is an opportunity to celebrate the fundamental principles of press freedom, to assess the state of press freedom throughout the world, to defend the media from attacks on their independence, and to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives in the line of duty. To history, as we always do, history tells us, among many thousands of things today, that on this May 3rd, 2001, the United States lost its seat on the United Nations Human Rights Commission for the first time since the commission was formed in 1947. But that is not our focus today, as coronavirus and COVID-19 continue to sow havoc, devastate lives, and leave death in its wake. Africa Online Media Corporation addresses one of the most infamous of the windfalls from this pandemic, school closures and its consequences on our children from birth to college. While distance learning may be a way around lockdowns, attending school regularly, obtaining an education, an academically sound education that is in the classroom anyway, and millions of children, we have to know that millions of children in less privileged countries and communities are greatly impacted because of a lack of resources. School closures are no good for students in less privileged societies, especially in our dear continent, Africa. Education on the continent is best offered in a formal school setting, as children need such locations to learn without distractions. And as Liberian President George Weah once said, quote, education is a continual process. It's like a bicycle. If you don't pedal, you don't go forward. Yes, teachers and other educators may do all they can to educate the children, but if those children are not in a formal setting, they will be greatly hampered because of the noises, the distractions, and all. What with parental indifference in some homes, what with such social and physical distractions like noisy homes, noisy communities, uncaring community members, and you name them. As we tackle the challenges of social closures in our discussion today, we defer to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, which believes strongly in sustainable development through an education that is complete. The organization believes firmly in its Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which professes to, quote, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, end of quote. Attaining that goal is realizable only when and if schools are open and learning is ensured year-round or year-long. But when an invisible monster like coronavirus and its attending COVID-19 oblige authorities to shutter schools, the risk is that that goal will fall short. Also, COVID-related school closures across more than 185 countries in the world have the potential to exacerbate existing gender inequalities in education or create new ones unless measures are taken to understand and address the gender dimensions. As it is nationwide and worldwide, as these closures continue and are affecting more than 1 billion learners all over the world, 90% or so of the world's student population is either out of school or not receiving the sufficient education they should be having. That is why we must shine the light on the scope and consequences of school closure in this day and age of COVID-19. Join Africa Online Media Corporation, therefore, to raise awareness, to seek solutions and to point a way forward for our children on the African continent, they need a good environment in which to study. Well, Sylvia, good afternoon again. Good evening to those in the continent, because I know it's night time in most of the places. And welcome to our guests. Welcome to all of us. Please let us get the show going. Over to you, Sylvia.
Thank you, and it's very good to see you. I'm very glad that you made it on the show this beautiful afternoon. Here in Texas, it's really beautiful. It's about 75, 80, so the weather is really nice. And I don't know about your Maryland weather, but I hope you all are doing very well. And it's always a pleasure to see every one of you on this show. We have a special guest with us today, Dr. Bongang, right? Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Dr. Bongang, but we also have another guest that we need Dr. Bongang to introduce him, since we are not familiar with him. He's on audio. So Dr.
Okay.
Bongang.
Okay, so
Yes,
so long as I didn't butcher Dr. Bongang's name, let Dr. Bongang introduce him,
yes.
then I'll continue.
I think my friend Lawrence Etta is online now from Atlanta, and Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm from Savannah, Georgia. And it's exciting to have Lawrence, because he's just got a call from me a few minutes ago saying, oh, you might be right there online on Africa Online. One of the great things that Africa Online is doing is that it is giving a platform for all the brains from the continent to emerge, and to have this platform as a way to broadcast what it is that they are bringing. And Lawrence, as those of you who've been looking at the Africa Online WhatsApp group have seen, I posted his the cover of his latest novel. We were some of those lucky ones who went to what was called Lycée Bilingue at the time, Collège Bilingue in Yaoundé. Lawrence was a couple of years or more years ahead of me, but he is now writing books, great fiction. And Lawrence, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh my goodness, wonderful. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you, and then this new book, what is it about? I think before you say, I just want to tell Asong, Pam, and all our uncles.
Sylvia.
Yeah,
Sylvia is
Sylvia. And Sylvia, not only a little bit about you, but why it is important that fiction writers are participating and should participate in explaining Africa to the world.
Well, sometimes the truth is bitter, but it has to be said. By the way, I am extending my greeting to the audience. I'm glad that I've been invited to your platform today, and I hope I will continue to be a part of your project. Now, the reason for fiction writers, or what they do, is take what is real in life and fictionalize it. Because sometimes in societies that are so non-political and non-democratic, you put something that is real into fiction, try to make it or make your life easier to live in that community. But sometimes we do write fiction because we imagine, we like to be creative. And so you fantasize about something, and then you decide to put that in writing. So there are two ways of doing it. So, one way, like I just mentioned, is because in repressive societies, people will write things that are fictionalized, even though basically they are true in real life. But again, because of their creative nature, they may also imagine something and write about it. So that's what fiction is all about.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Lawrence, so that our audience can know who you are, where you come from, what is this latest project and why we should care?
Well, my name is Lawrence Eka. I'm originally from Manu in Cameroon. I went to College Blanc in Yaoundé and then the Lycée Moliko and back to University of Yaoundé and taught there for 2 years in the Lycée, and then I decided to leave Cameroon to America. One of the reasons, or probably the primordial reason why I left the country was because of the inability to express your frustration. You know, they fear that if you open your mouth and say anything against Ahijo or about Ahijo, you could be in real trouble. And for me, I couldn't stand to see the injustices that were being meted upon our people in Cameroon. I hate injustice so bitterly. And I couldn't just stay in a country where I know that I will be going to prison if I stay there. So that's the main reason that propelled me to leave Cameroon to the United States.
Thank you so very much for the update, Lawrence. I'm sorry I didn't get your last name.
Eka. E-K-A.
E-K-A. Eka. Okay, that's very easy. It sounded hard when you pronounced them together. It sounded long. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that information. So can you please just hang around with us for a little bit while we tackle the topic for the day, because I believe we will need your input as a fiction writer. The perspective that you will bring will be totally different from what us as laymen and lay people, look at. So the topic of the day is how we are coping with our pupils or our students, our children during this COVID-19 pandemic. How is everybody doing? Because it appears with this new system of online learning, the parents have gone back to school as well, and more so for the grandparents as well. Because what happens is a lot of times there's some parents who are still essential workers and are going to work. So the children are being left either in the care of a grandparent or in the care of a caretaker. Now, those of the children that are being left with the grandparents, of course, grandma like me now has to start relearning school. And those of us educated in Africa, you know that our education system is completely different from the one that we have here in the United States. So how is each and every household coping with relearning or going back to school with your children, including those parents that do have the small ones and do come home and because they're left in the caretaker's hands, they of course also have to come and help their children do their homework or do the Zoom calls. Now, most of these things are going on Zoom. I see all my grandchildren, there's three of them here that have Zoom calls allocated at different hours, not like an hour for each Zoom call, and they interact just the way we're doing, and they do their homework, they answer questions. It's just like in a classroom. So how is this affecting you parents or you custodians who take care of your children? Let's talk. So from Mr. Lawrence, as a fiction writer, what is your take on this? What is your view?
Well, it's so unfortunate that we're given, in this case, the COVID-19 is a terrible pandemic the world over, and we have just no other choice but to resort to online learning. So in sophisticated environments, societies like the United States, it is just even much easier to embark on projects of this nature. In fact, the enrollment, I participate. I go to a church here that has a school, and the pastors, even as I read even online about the church, the enrollment participation in class has even increased more than even on regular school days. So I think learning at home, and especially even mothers that are not used to learning, I think this is an opportunity for them as well as the children to learn something new.
That's absolutely true. Dr. Bongan, what is
Yes,
your view on the same?
I think let me start by very general remarks, and then I'll go to some specifics. The general remarks are as follows. The first thing is that COVID-19 has imposed on the world dramatic changes that are comparable only, say, to 9/11, World War II, World War I. In other words, there are things that will change in the world that so profoundly that it will not be like before. You know, after 9/11, the idea of going to airports and getting off your shoes, and it's the norm now. After COVID-19, there are a number of things we are going to do that will also initially shock us, but then we'll get used to them. The first one, of course, is this one of distance learning. Now, how should we look at that? We should look at distance learning as another indicator of the disparities between the wealthy and the poor. The disparity between the North meaning the developed world, and the South, underdeveloped world, because the differences. There are disparities within the North, where you have the wealthy in the US, in Europe, versus the poor in these so-called developed countries. Now, if we therefore begin to think, for instance, I've been teaching now online for a while. I was teaching at a very leisurely pace prior to COVID-19 online. It was a flexible thing. Some students thought it was crazy and reluctantly did it when their schedules permitted. But now you have no choice. They have no choice. We're online, and we have a platform similar to this. So I get to class now, and from my room, like now, I am talking to students, and I see them. They see me. I pull up my laptop with my notes and my and my videos, and we can have a fairly decent conversation. The only difference is that we are not seeing it. We are not right there physically. How many students can afford that? Only students who have the internet at home. No, you and I have the internet at home, and we think, oh yeah, that's normal. But there are those who do not have.
Correct.
And then those who may have but might not have the power enough to upload the kinds of things I'll put for them to upload. So that is a problem. Then when I talk to colleagues teaching in Cameroon and to family there, I was horrified to realize that children were sent back home when government suddenly announced that students had to stay home, without as much as an outline of what they needed to study while at home. So that was the bare minimum. Just let the parents know the topics. How many parents would even know what to teach them? But at least give them that, Then, of course, the technology is not there. You go home and you can see lots of people with cell phones and laptops, but very few have the capacity to have a sustained classroom from home. Somebody told me from Yaoundé. Yaoundé is the capital. That for the last week, for 3 days in their neighborhood, they did not have power. In the capital. So if you were having students who had to follow a regular curriculum, and for 3 days they do not have power, when it does come at the 4th day, everybody is so frustrated, they don't even know where to begin. Yeah. Not to talk of all that got bad in the fridge that they have, but those are the sort of things that I want us to be thinking about. That unfortunately, or maybe sadly, fortunately, COVID-19 is alerting us to what our fight should be. How do you bring about justice equality in the world that is so and always has been unequal like this.
Thank you. Reverend Pam, do you have a view on the same topic before we move on?
Oh, of course I do. You know, on behalf of African Online Media Corporation, let me welcome Mr. Eka. I was trying to figure out the book said Eka, and I thought I had Eta. So you are welcome to Africa Online, and I'll be adding you to the forum. And Dr. Bongan, thank you so much for bringing him on board. And it's so good to see our chief executive editor, Niason, with his red cap. We missed
yes, Chief. I see the Chief is online finally.
Yeah, we're seriously missed. But I want to pose this, Ibn. I know you are a professor, and I remember a few years ago, I don't know if it was 2017, when we were speaking, and you had mentioned, I was talking about mentoring our people back home with technology through digital classes, and you said it struck a chord with you because you were trying to do something on the, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
It's just that we're a little far away from the microphone.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
That you were trying to, you flew to Cameroon to teach some journalists, and things didn't quite work out well because of logistics, and that you wish you had thought about that. So a couple of questions for you, but I want to comment on this distance learning, then I'll pose a question to you, Dr. Bonga. Let me just pose those questions that you can answer after my comment. The question is, have you since then implemented a digital curricula that would help with these journalists back home? That's one question. Two, what has happened to your classes? Has enrollment or participation been more effective than it was pre-COVID? Those are the two questions to you, Dr. Bonga. But my comment on the distance learning is, as bad as coronavirus is, you know, I think there are some great benefits, maybe unintended by the virus, that has come as a result of this stay-at-home order. Human beings have adjusted and come up with more, advanced ways of learning. I say this to say, not just the students or the pupils, but even adult education. There are some parents that have been putting off going back to school. There are parents that don't want to deal with technology, but I'm here to tell them that technology is not going anywhere. You might as well use this time to learn how to surf the web. Those of you who don't have internet, it's time to put internet. Learn how to, simple things like Microsoft Office. You can get free tutorials on the internet on Microsoft Office. Learn how to use Word. You don't really need to be a queen or king or a master of PowerPoint or Excel. At least learn Word document. Learn how to use Google. I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not on Twitter, where I have a Twitter account, but it's for charity. I'm not encouraging everybody to go on Twitter or Facebook. I got on Facebook because of Africa Online. That was in 2017. But learn some kind of technology. I just found out the other day that, WhatsApp now, you can make conference calls, up to 4 people, video conference calls. And I'm glad, I don't make calls on WhatsApp. So, but these are information, these are things that are free. And with Facebook owning WhatsApp, I know that the technology was going to be improved from what it was before. But I think there are some good things about this, because even before COVID, there were some parents that taught their children at home. Now, the children can get the best of both worlds. They get the home learning, they still get to interact with other students online. So it's social interactions, it's not social distancing, it's physical distancing, but not social distancing. I really don't know who came up with that. It's a shame, because people keep talking about social distancing, but it's physical distancing. So I think the distance learning is a good thing. One of the things I want to use this time to learn is how to is video editing. That's something I want to learn how to do. I'm not going to do it for a career. I want to learn how to do it for Africa Online, for Africa's Brain Bank, for all our charity, for ministry. So that's one of the things I want to learn how to do. But I want to encourage everybody, learn something during this time. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's how to cook your own food. You saw a video that I did on showing people how to do your own food. Learn something, Google something, learn how to do something during this lockdown using technology. Dr. Bongang, over to you, those 2 questions. Thank you, Sylvia.
Okay. Yeah, yes, thanks so much, Reverend Palm. One of the things that I talked about at the time, I had the privilege of traveling to Cameroon with the president of Savannah State University. After, going on my knees to her several times, she finally accepted, and we went to Cameroon. And we did a lot of groundwork, and we ended up signing 7 memoranda of understanding with Cameroonian universities. The idea was that we will build student faculty exchanges in Cameroon. And my dream at the time secretly was that we would be able to have, thanks to the internet, the ability to share library resources, because I thought if from Savannah or from the United States, a student can access library resources, and a student anywhere in Cameroon could access the same resources, then that would be a plain or flat platform. Everybody would have the same knowledge, and they can do the same research. Unfortunately, that did not happen for a number of reasons, including the fact that civil unrest in Cameroon made it impossible to do the kinds of things we were hoping to do. We were hoping to go back with students and faculty exchanges. But about my own pet project, which did not happen still because of the unrest at home, the Bamenda pilot workshop that I wanted to do, it was a classic case of wrong timing, because the day we had to have the workshop is the day the Prime Minister was coming to negotiate with lawyers and teachers. Of course, you know how that one ended.
Yeah.
But I did go to Yaoundé informally, called a number of friends who called others, and a number of journalists showed up, about 14 of them, and for 4 hours we talked about the challenges they were facing. The year after that, I thought of another strategy. I went back to our old house, Asong. I went back to CRTV, talked to management. I said, I had this project. My focus was the private press. It did not work. But since CRTV is organized, we could have built a partnership with CRTV so that we, Asong, and those of us who are veterans, could be helping to teach those who are new in the profession. And we could do that several ways. The management was excited about it. They gave names of those I should work with, gave their emails. I came here, wrote emails, email after email, till today, 3 years after, not a response. But that is no problem. As they say, you hit your head against the door, the wall, it means there's no door there. So you have to figure out a door. And now the challenge for us is, with all these technologies, and more will be coming thanks to COVID-19, we can now begin to figure out what, for instance, an outfit like Africa Online could be doing. What could we be doing with partners back on the continent, in the different countries, to help each other? Because what I was telling them, and hoping that they would understand, that we are not bringing some wisdom from North America. We want to work together as partners. You know the issues better than we know, but how can we blend our insights to help our young people in the different fields? And I think the challenge for us on Africa Online is to figure out what we've already, and we've done, led the platform very well in our different sectors, what we should be doing. How can we leverage the technologies we have today to make things better for people on the continent, whether it's in the media, and I hope we can still talk about World Press Day in a few minutes, or in other areas. So it is something that is a challenge for us, and we need to really use this opportunity to figure things out.
Thank you, Dr. Bongang, for that insightful recap of what has been going on and what is going on. Mr. Eka, you're welcome on the program. I know
Thank you.
must be a parent, and our concern is our kids in this time of COVID-19. The children are not going to their regular schools. They go, maybe the lucky ones are able to go online, but a majority of children do not have access to the internet, let alone the rest of the social media. So as a parent, how are you coping, and what would you recommend to other parents to get our children educated the way they should be?
Well, Mr. Song, I believe I am now an elder citizen. You know, that means that means my children are all basically grown. And my youngest is 24 years old. She's also a college graduate. So my children are grown women. Basically, they're all women, and they're working. What is now happening, just like everywhere else, you know, with them as well as everybody else, including me, is the fact that everybody is asked to stay home. And so that's just what we're doing. What do you call it again? Social distancing, wearing your mask and so on, going to grocery store with your mask on and stuff like that. So just no one is going out anywhere. We're all stuck here, and we only go out whenever there is need for it. So actually, for those children who are not able to have access to the online classes, which I find maybe a little ridiculous, because you know, as advanced as this society is, I believe that most families should be able to have access to online classes. So I cannot really answer that definitely, you know, because I'm not too familiar with that since my children are all grown.
Well, as a school working person, I have to do full disclosure here. I work in the 16th largest school district in the United States. That is in the county called Montgomery County in Maryland. And the school system has been quite effective. They've been able to give out as many Chromebooks as possible so that children can access classes from home. But not every county in Maryland is so rich to be able to provide those gadgets to students. Some students have the gadgets, but they can't access the internet because this is a paid product. So that is another problem. All the same, what we have to do is to encourage our parents, even if it means sacrificing that other car and getting a laptop in the family or getting a computer at home so that children can access education, will be very, very important. My 9-year-old grandson who lives with me has been following classes. He goes to school in Prince George's County, where I live, and he's been able to access classes. The teacher records stuff and sends videos to him. And I see him, Grandpa, can you help me open this for me? Or the dad comes around and opens it for him. So this is the thing that we all have to be trying to do. Whatever we do, wherever we are, if we don't have the means, we encourage others to have the means so that they too can have their children involved in the education that they are supposed to be getting. Because if they lose this time to learn, it may be too late tomorrow. Because as they say, it is easier to teach a child than to correct an old man like you and I. Sylvia.
No, I refuse to be old, you know? You all should not be calling yourselves old. You're still very young at heart and very sharp as I can see.
Yeah.
Old people don't look like the handsomeness and beauty that I'm seeing here. Old people, like my granddaughter will say, your face is not yet ugly, meaning you don't have wrinkles. That's what she calls it.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, we are talking about the United States and schooling. How is this affecting the people on the continent? Because I know for a fact that some African countries too may have put schools on hold for a lot of their children. I did see, I'm not going to mention the countries, in like 2 or 3 countries where the curriculum was posted in the newspapers for certain schools and for certain students to follow, and books that the children should get. So my question is, most of them, like we all rightly agree, may not have access to laptops, may not have access to internet. If they do, most of them, it's usually for the phone, for, you know, WhatsApp and whatever they have to do. We all know that a Zoom call will take a minimum of 45 minutes for one to get a lecture or a lesson for the child, to go through. So the children that are back home, how are they going to sort of get caught up when time is up for them to say, okay, now school's open in September. They've been out of school, what's this, March, April, May, June, July, almost 6-7 months. How is this going to affect our children? The ones that do not have this access, the ones that come from these poor so-called third world countries.
Yeah. I think if we take the case of Cameroon, it's a double tragedy in the sense that most students in the northwest and southwest parts of Cameroon were already they already had a serious deficit in that most of them haven't been to school for the last couple of years, or even if they went, it was interrupted. But now COVID-19 has compounded the problem. So we have a lost generation, practically. Lost generation, because when students have missed school for a year, let alone for 2-3 years, you are going to deal with adults who, for no reason or no, they are not responsible for that kind of calamity that is going to affect their lives forever. Yes, so as societies, we have to treat this as an emergency. How do you recover 3 years or 4 years of lost education? And there are ways, fundamental ways to address it. All over the continent, there, with a few exceptions, we have energy problems in Africa. African countries, more than half a century after most of their independence, are not energy independent. In this, other words, you have projects for power that are 50 years old. Planning is projection. Any country would be planning, thinking of what would be my population 20, 30 years from today. But most of our countries didn't do that. And that is why you have power shortages in most of our cities that are already overcrowded. Energy is one. Water supply is the other. So here are two things that if they were tackled seriously by leaders on the continent, they would be providing the foundation upon which all development begins. Because we could come up with the most fantastic ideas of distance learning here. But as I said earlier, 3 days without power is not something we are creating. It is a reality that happened just last week. And it happens all the time. So while we can be thinking of ways, I think there are those fundamental problems that leadership on the continent has to address. And it is our hope that the newer leaders on the continent, and we hope they come up soon when these dinosaurs step aside, that they can be really progressive and can bring about change.
That is so true. I want to thank you so much, Doctor. I would like to welcome Reverend Solange to the show. Reverend Solange, are you on? Are you live? I don't see your pretty face.
It's on audio.
Reverend Solange.
It's on audio, looks like.
Reverend Solange, are you on?
Oh, well.
All right. Whatever she comes on, we will.
Well, Reverend Prime Lucia, you have a question or comment?
While we're waiting for that, I wanted to put out a challenge to all our young people, Africans and people of African descent. I know there is a way to access the internet, the web page without the internet access. During this stay at home, during this free zone, now is the time to challenge your intellect to come up with more solutions for our people. That way you don't have to worry about school fees. We have a lot of children who can't go to school because they can't afford school fees. But there is a way. So I'm not an expert in this, but I want to challenge our young people. And if any of our young people, and when I say Africans, I include diaspora, people of African descent, you can come up with a free access to the web without internet, Africa's Brain Bank is going to honor you at our next event. This is not the first time we're talking about this, challenging our people. We have a profound STEM project that is in the queue. It's been in the queue for a couple of years now, pending funding, but we want to challenge our young people to come up with some technology, not just this one, but accessing the web without internet would assist us to be able to share, teaching materials. Dr. Bongan is here. He is actually in charge of our mentoring program. But we want to be able to educate our people from the comfort of their own home. And I don't want to hear this thing about electricity stuff. There's a young man, I don't remember which country, that developed Lion Light. So come up with some solar thing, solar power. Let's talk about, I'm sorry?
It's from Uganda.
From Uganda, yes. We actually have him on our Africa Online web page, but that page is under construction right now. So I didn't remember. But so challenge yourself. And necessity is the mother of all invention. We saw people, coming up with mechanical hand washing stations in Africa. It was because of COVID. Prior to COVID, they didn't have that, where you don't even have to touch the hand sanitizer. You use your feet, just like they do in the OR here, where the doctors in the scrub room, you don't touch the faucet. You just press the pedal on your foot, and the soap comes up and the water comes out. That is something that came up because of COVID. So I want to challenge you, come up with web access, free web access without the internet, so that we can load, Dr. Bonga can load up his lessons, Niason can load up his lessons, all our professors, our teachers, even other people who are not necessarily teachers can load up information, teaching materials to help you educate yourself. A lot of our parents and forefathers educated themselves. They didn't have to go sit in the classroom. So now is the time to make distant learning, internet learning, digital learning, the cool thing to do. And Iaso, over to you.
Thank you very much. Professor Bongan, talking about Cameroon specifically, where you and I happened to have grown up and to have acquired our education, I understand the schools have been closed. Isn't that even worse than, aggravating the situation that was already prevailing in the Northwest and Southwest regions and endangering the rest of the country? What are the authorities doing, if you know anything that I do not?
What is great about our beautiful country is that government information is a secret. So I am not privy to details, but I think the obvious one is just what I had mentioned, the fact that students were suddenly told to go home and not come back to school, but nothing was done to prepare for that transition. Because if students have been home now for a couple of months with no idea of what they should be studying, it is stressful not only to the students, but to the parents who are at a loss, what to do. The kids get really, really antsy when they are sitting there with nothing to do. But I think what is true is that in most of the urban areas, there is access to the internet, except for the interruptions of power. And as Reverend Palm was saying, there were times in the 70s, the talk of solar energy was the rage then. I could not imagine that today, in another century, solar power wouldn't have been the commonplace. But because of political reasons, sometimes these things don't happen. Solar power is straightforward. It comes from the sun, and we have it 24 hours sun. So you should expect that governments should be promoting that. But as I was telling some friends in Cameroon recently in December, I said, you cannot always wait for government. People should come together, get their solar panels, have some, but they put it up on the roof, connect it. You could connect it even to your main system so that it kicks off and starts off giving you the energy it had preserved when the main power goes off. As Reverend Pam was saying, creativity. People have to be creative. If there are challenges in life, figure out solutions. We cannot just throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, we can't solve this problem. But the good thing, if there's anything good about COVID-19, is that it is pushing us now to be addressing these issues and to be asking urgently for people with ideas to come up. And Africa Online, we are here to begin to put these things together and suggest to those who know probably better than we do how we can make things better.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bong. Just one or two things, just one or two contributions to what you were saying. Regarding the solar system or the solar energy, solar electricity, most of the African countries have adopted it. The problem we are having, I'm not going to mention any country names because I deal in that. Most of the problems we are having with these implemented or installed solar panels or solar system is maintenance. When the Chinese come in, they come and install it, they don't teach you nothing. You remain with the solar system thinking, oh, all I got to do is just flip the switch and it will work, flip that switch and it will work. That thing requires maintenance. You have a whole street light of solar paneled lights, and when the bulbs are gone, nobody knows how to get up there to go change it, but the whole starts. So that onus is on you as Africans, on us as Africans. Mm-hmm. When something is implemented, it's true, it's very exciting for the first time. Everybody wants. Once it comes, it becomes old. It becomes old. It reminds me of my grandchildren. We just set up a trampoline for them in the backyard. As soon as the trampoline was set up, oh my goodness, every day, 24/7, they were out there. Now they got hoverboards. Was it 2 days ago? Now the trampoline is obsolete. They're on the hoverboards. we had a very big storm, and that storm brought a lot of debris into the what you call that trampoline. Did they care to go fix it? No, they didn't. It was not until they got tired of the hoverboard now they came back. So maintenance is one of the biggest issues that we have. But just before COVID-19 started, I'm not going to mention the reverend or the bishop. He's the bishop. There's a program in Africa, which they started. I think it was Congo, where they have what we call backpack lights. The backpack of a child. You know, the outside of it where they have the thing that looks like you can put a sandwich inside of pencils. I don't know what you call it. Yeah. It's the smaller packet, a smaller pocket on the very outside of the backpack when you put it on your back, right? So it's the first thing that you see when you get their backpack. They have devised a system because they're saying most of our children's eyes are getting bad because of using, we call it koloboi in Zambia, where you put kerosene in a little canister and then you put a wick and you strike it. It's got a lot of soot. These kids are developing coughs and unknown diseases in the chest because of inhaling that, so trying to be so close to the light to write as well as the candle. Some of them even burn their hair or burn themselves just trying to read. So this reverend has come up with, this bishop has come up and his team, they've come up with an ingenious backpack. I saw it. Awesome. So what happens is this: when the kid is going to school in the morning, back and forth, the battery, it's a battery for solar. It's put inside. Okay. Now, it also comes with a little gadget. I'm not sure what it's called, where it's like your phone. When you come home, you plug it in, and the bulb comes on. A light, electricity is charged, so the child doesn't have to sit so close to that little that little wick, which is exuding all this stuff like that. Now we are challenging our students, and we're challenging our millennials to come up with new ideas. But there's some ideas that are already out there that we also, as parents, like you're saying, old old people need to start helping push, such as that backpack. What will it take for us to start now promoting our children? Look at the way it's going now with this online learning. What's to stop them, like you're saying, Reverend Pam, if they come up with a way to access the internet, and then they have that little backpack, that little battery where they just plug in their phone, whatever gadget new. Somebody needs to come up with a gadget that is school-friendly for the children, where it's all nothing but schoolwork. They plug it in, they can do their schoolwork, and they go. So there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of room for development and for new processes to go. But I would love to figure out how, or rather find out how this reverend's or the bishop's program is going, because when they started, it started off like a bang. A lot of countries were asking for those backpacks, and the kids love those backpacks because it's helping them with the vision with the eyes.
Okay, time.
That said, yeah, Reverend Pam, I was
3:55.
going to say we're
3:55.
getting up to the top of the hour, but before we go, I wanted us to be reflecting on this as we go to the top of the hour. Reverend Pam will take the microphone and talk to the top of the hour, and then we'll come back. And I wanted us to talk about the impact on the female child in particular, because we know that at home now, the children are not going to school, and the female child is usually the one on whom the responsibility revolves to take care of everybody else in the family, because dad or mom may want to go out and work or may want to go do something else. So the female child becomes the unfortunate one that has to take care of her siblings. So let us be thinking about that, and pass the microphone to Reverend Pam.
Well, thank you, Niason. We have 4 more minutes. Reverend Solange, are you on now? You want to weigh in briefly before the hour?
No, that's fine. Just
okay.
go on.
All right. Okay, thank you. So I'll comment on that. A couple of things. When we still have Mr. Lawrence on, but when Dr. Ben was talking about students being sent home during this lockdown without any lessons assignment, are you surprised? I remember in one class, you know, I went to an Ivy League school, thanks to my dad, but I remember there was a teacher, a history teacher that came, you know, in Africa, when they give you a history test, or in Cameroon, I'm sure it's like that, in other countries, they might bring a map, maybe the map of Europe, because they taught us European history more than they taught us African history. And they will just put a dot in some country, and you're supposed to write a whole essay on that dot, a battle that happened there. Don't ask me, because that is not helping me in my current life or in my future life, but this instructor said, and I won't say whether it was secondary school or high school, because I don't want, you know, people to figure out which school it was, but the guy said we should write a history on Vasco da Gama discovered the East route to India. I give this to say there was this crazy girl that wrote a whole essay on that one sentence, and guess what? She did not add anything else to that sentence. She just tweaked the sentence. For example, she said, it is true that Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India. The sea route to India was discovered by Vasco da Gama. There's no argument. Vasco da Gama discovered it. She just used that same sentence and twisted it around and came up with a whole essay. I said, a lot of our teachers, they don't take the time to prepare lessons. So I am not surprised, because if they were preparing lessons and this lockdown happened, they would have been able to give our students lessons. So I want to challenge the superintendents or the principals or the head of education. These teachers must take continuing educations. They must be quizzed. There are teachers that give out home assignments that they themselves cannot do. And that nonsense needs to stop. We don't want uneducated people educating our children or teaching our children. It's not acceptable. It's no longer acceptable. People should take their jobs seriously. I do understand that in some educational systems, especially the government educational system, some of these teachers have not been paid. The government needs to pay them, but please, if you're not going to take your lessons and your job seriously, leave the classroom so somebody else can, or so the students can figure out for themselves. Our brother, Dr. Ogoji, is on, so after the top of the hour, we're going to give him the microphone, and he has his hat on today. Dr. Ogoji, you're welcome. You know, but I want to say I am not surprised that students were sent home with no lessons, and I want to encourage the student, while you are home now, even if your teacher didn't give you a lesson, come up with a lesson for yourself. Some of you are even smarter than the teachers. And as for the girl child, it is a shame that even in 2020, some people are still looking at women as second-class citizens, or as their education is not important. But I can tell you this, the world will be a better place if women are educated. They say you train a whole nation. Yes, we're at the top of a few seconds. So for those who still think women education is not important, I can tell you this, you train a woman, you train a whole nation. We are at the top of the hour and talking about women. Our topic starting tomorrow will be the role that women have played in fighting coronavirus. Mother's Day is next Sunday. We want to honor our women. And as some of you have seen reports that the countries that are being led by women, like Germany, I think South Korea, there are a few of them, they were able to contain this coronavirus better than nations that are being headed by men. So I would just want to challenge everybody out there, those of you who go to vote or whatever, it's about time you start putting us in charge, because we know how to take care of business. We get things done. You know, you go into the house. I mean, the family is the foundation of a nation. And usually the woman, the mothers, the daughters are the ones that keep the home together. They are the ones that make the house a home. So I'm not surprised that those nations that are being led by women took this coronavirus seriously. Women by nature, not all, but by nature, are very nurturing and very caring and very compassionate and very empathetic. They can understand what it means for a nurse to be exposed, or a doctor, the frontline workers, the police officer, the grocery clerks. They get it more than the men. I'm not saying all men. So we're going to be looking into the role that the women have played, not just women presidents or women leaders, even mothers, even daughters, aunties, and sisters have played in fighting this coronavirus. And let me just put all of you here on notice. This Mother's Day is about us. Forget about which male did what or whatever. All of us, and Dr. Ogoji, I'm so happy you're a woman doctor. You are a proponent of women, so I know you'll have a lot to say during this time. So, and I just want to thank all the women out there, not just the women heads of state, but all the women that have kept their family together during this coronavirus. Over to you, Niasom.
Thank you very much. I'll be calling on Dr. Ogoji momentarily, but just to tie in with what you said, even though it is not yet, we're not yet discussing that, you wouldn't imagine, as you said, that it was the countries being led by women seem to be doing a better job. Of course, the first comforting words about coping with coronavirus and COVID-19 came from the first president of Liberia. I mean, the first lady president of Liberia, Ms. Solu, and then Queen Elizabeth followed up. The women were speaking up and speaking sense more than some of the men who come on television every 2 hours a day to tell us what we should not be hearing. All the same, we have heard the topic. We'll be talking about the role of the women in helping us solve or cope with this coronavirus thing. And of course, we know next Sunday, as Reverend Palmer said, is Women's Day. That said, Dr. Ogoji, I know you are out there and you have been watching, you're going around and you know what is going on. The problem is school closures and our children. What is your take on that topic?
Well, it's a very important topic, okay? I just heard Reverend Pam talked about some schools send kids home without any homework or schoolwork. In my school district 81 where I live, my kids came home without no schoolwork.
Oh, Lord.
I have 3 kids. One of the teacher was very good at technology. He has waken up and every week I get an email from him on what my son should do. And with that, I can get to my son and say, "What have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this?" In that way, we keep going with the pace of what the teacher wants. So I'm very happy with that one. The other 2 kids, I don't know what's going on. For me, on my own part, my wife researched into various online programs for children. We finally found one that we find very useful, which I'm paying an extra almost $100 per month for each of them. So in that program, I get my kids to work there at least 2 hours a day minimum. End of the week, I try to look and see, have they covered what they're supposed to do? Because children like the easier parts. You know, my children likes mathematics a lot. Not surprising because the dad is a mathematician in those days. However, if I let them do what they want to do, they'll study math. So I was very inclined to find a program where I can monitor what they are doing. So this program has all the subjects from social studies to mathematics to language and everything. So I want that every Friday evening I say, come here. Have you done yet? Are you done with your week work? They log in and check. Did they finish all the minimum required for the week? If they did, then they can be bribed. I use the word bribed.
They can be rewarded.
Yes.
Be
No,
rewarded.
if I may,
Yes, yes, Dr.
come in there,
Goldman.
I think Dr. Ugoji,
Ugoji.
if did I pronounce it well? Your name well? Yes.
Yes.
That's great to have specific case studies like that from your home of what is going on, and if you can imagine from your privileged position and the challenges you are having, then you can think about those parents who don't have the insight you have, who don't have the resources you have, but who have children who are stranded virtually at home. So that's one thing. But I want to go back to a couple of things. I love women, as Dr. Palm was saying. She was talking about women. In fact, women are the foundation, the backbones, as it were, of every society. And anybody who doesn't worship women is making a big mistake. So we have to give, it should not just be things we say so that we get women to be happy with us. It should be the actions we take in order to show women that we want to support them so that they should help lead our societies. In the early 90s, I was at the UN in New York, where I was producing UN Africa, a weekly magazine program. I got the privilege to interview African leaders when they passed by New York. One of the persons I interviewed at the time, Mrs. Sirleaf, I'm bringing her up because you talked about her, before she ever thought of going back and running for president.
Yes.
As soon as I finished recording her and I went up to the UN radio and I was telling people, this is the most brilliant person I've ever interviewed. And at the time I had more than 15 years of interviewing people. They said, what did she say? I said, it's not what she said, but it's the conviction with which she spoke about development on the continent. So I wasn't surprised that she ended up where she did. That is a leader. And her leadership, if I could see in 1993, the vision that this lady had, I wasn't surprised she ended up leading and bringing out the country from the troubles it was in. So the next thing then is what Reverend Palm said about preparation of teachers. As you may recall, all over the world, teachers are the last people the governments think about compensating well. How can we entrust the treasures of our lives, our children, to people we don't even bother how they live? It's insane. But anyway, what I wanted to bring up is in universities of late, we have come up with what you call the scholarship of teaching and learning. Because we are now having journals. I just had another Zoom meeting yesterday on that. We have a study group thinking about how do we train teachers to teach properly. The scholarship of teaching and learning, therefore, is going back to the classroom, looking at what we do and assessing it. How do we know what we do works? If I come and teach students today, give a lecture, how do I know it works? So we've got to figure out scientifically how to assess pedagogy at every level, so that when you send that little kid to school, you should know that the teacher in that class knows what they are doing and are keen to make sure that that kid is learning. So those are some of the things that we should also be promoting, to say, what is teacher training? How should teachers be trained to activate the critical thinking of kids? The example you gave was interesting. You know how they used to say, "Oh, write an essay about that." What do you want that essay to tell us about what a child has learned? You know, but now, because I and some of our colleagues are conscious of that, we are not just saying regurgitate what I told you. I'm asking students, for instance, in my media and politics class the other day, and trying to let them understand how is the reporting of COVID-19 on Fox News as compared to MSNBC? And why should we care about the competing narratives of a particular story? That forces them to think about it. And those are the kinds of things that would force us also to focus on teacher learning as part of our mission.
And that being said, Professor Bongang, one of the things at the primary levels, elementary and middle schools, one of the things that teaching should involve is ongoing assessment. You should no longer be waiting for the end of the semester to set a test. It is daily assessment of the kids as they go along, because the more they practice as they go along, the more they learn and practice, the better for understanding. Because if you wait until the end of the semester or towards the end of the semester to test the student, they will have forgotten all what they learned from day one. So it is good to have those ongoing assessments every day, every week. And by the time they end the curriculum for that particular semester, they will have certainly mastered it. And of course, what is important is having children ask those critical questions. They should be critical thinkers, people who say, they don't just say 2 + 2 is 4. How did you get to 4? Show your answer, explain your answer. So it is very important for teachers to become more aware of what they need to do and be able to bring their students around. And of course, it is important because without that, some parents never look at their children's work, because you will assume that you have done it in class and the parents will follow up at home. Some parents don't have the time, especially for immigrant parents who have to put food on the table, who have, in some cases, to struggle with 2, 3 jobs to be able to put that food on the table. So it is very important to review how we meet out the education to the children, how we give out the education to the students. As Sylvia, see, you are itching there. I think you have a question or a comment.
Real quick before Sister Sylvia.
I wanted to bring in Reverend Solange. I need Reverend Solange to say something first, please. Yes. Reverend Solange, are you on?
I'm on. I've just been quiet, listening and learning at the same time. Right now, I thought we're going to talk about the female child role during this COVID stay at home. But I see we're still talking about the education and women's role. I was going to chip in a little. Today, someone sent me something about the premier of Taiwan. Taiwan is the only country that does not have any case of corona, and that's because the leader is a female. We all know that because of politics, Taiwan is not recognized as a country. It's next door to China. But there's no coronavirus incident there because the prime minister, I think the president here, she actually started acting. She was proactive towards coronavirus. When they heard that there was something that was coming through the borders of China into Taiwan, she started doing there's been no lockdown or anything like that. All just preventive, wear your mask, wash your hands and all that. And I was just listening to this WhatsApp, and that tells you how serious women would take things. And like when it started in the United States, a lot of people downplayed it. Like this was not going to be anything serious. But as we all know, the reverse has turned out to be true. So that's what I was just going to chip in a little.
Thank you.
The female role.
Yeah. All right, from Pam.
Just a quick comment. There was something I needed to add, but a quick comment. Reverend Solange, I'm hoping that they don't have a single case because they've been testing, because there's a country in Africa that I got a WhatsApp information that said they don't have any cases of coronavirus.
Because they've not been tested.
The reason is because they cannot test. So let's hope that's not the case in Taiwan. But I would like to give Mr. Lawrence Eka just a couple of minutes, because we are running out of time, to talk about his book. Mr. Eka, the airways are yours. Just tell us a little bit about your book. Just a couple of minutes, please. We are running out of time.
Well, I in a nutshell, my book is all about the struggles that occurred in Cameroon. From the time of the unification all the way to the present. So how a disgruntled young man could not stomach the inequalities in the country and decides to leave the country and go elsewhere to prepare himself. That's in a nutshell what the book is all about. And
how can they get it?
well, how is he going to do it? He has come
how
up.
can they get the book?
Well, how can they get the book? You can get it. First of all, the title is "Behold a Blessed Country." Behold a Blessed Country, and you can find it at Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, Google. Apple iTunes, as well as Google Play.
Okay.
And you can find it in either ebooks in the form of ebooks or hard copy.
Okay, thank you so much. Niason, over to you.
Yes, now let's turn our attention again back to the topic. Dr. Ogoji, I know you have at least taken the bull by the horns by challenging your son to do the work and by following up on the other children. What would you recommend to an African parent in the United States who has immigrated, who is living in this country now, and whose children are at home because of this lockdown? What should they be doing that they've not been doing?
Well, get involved. Get involved. Get involved. Back home growing up, at the age of 13, most of us leave the house to be in boarding house. It's different here. You are stuck with these children until the age of 21. Not a bad thing, but very, very challenging. So before the age of 13, be that father, be that mother that want to look at your kids' homework or book every week. No matter how busy I am, I make sure I do that every week. Number 2, video gaming, computer time. Use it to your own advantage. Use it to your advantage. In my house, every weekend, you cannot go to electronics until 10 a.m. And you must read for at least 1 hour before you get to electronics. After lunch, you must take 1 hour break from electronics to do another schoolwork. So they are forced to do schoolwork 2 hours on Saturdays and Sunday.
Awesome.
In that way, they are not cranky. They are doing it to get the reward of their video game later. And number 3, minimize electronics. My kids always ask me, I want this, I want this. I say, we already have enough. They want the latest one? No, for me, I don't chase electronics. I keep it real. Let them experience the current stage of things, enjoy what they have without going overboard.
There you go.
That's my take.
Thank you very much. Now, Professor Bongang, let's turn the hands of the clock to today, May 3rd, International Press Freedom Day. Dr. Ogoji, I know you read the papers, you listen to news and so on, but in some countries, journalists and those who work in the media are still seen as enemy number 1. Professor Bongang, the theme rather for this year's celebration is journalism without fear or favor. Is that an appropriate topic?
Yes, it is. And for you probably, and for me, it is very urgent because we've been talking about technology. We are enjoying this technology and we're able to communicate and broadcast around the world. It is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because instantly we can send information around the world. It is a curse because in that instant sending of information, we can also send information that is as lethal as a nuclear bomb. We went to school to study journalism because, like the doctor would attest, they who studied more complicated things like surgery, they have to go to school. You do not have somebody trying to attempt surgery on somebody who did not, and that person didn't go to medical school.
Yes.
I think you will run away from such a doctor. But everybody now can get online and write a story and claim to be a journalist.
Yeah.
We go to school and we go through the foundations of what makes a story. You check and you recheck and you check again before you publish. But because the media is about making money as well, the corporations that run the media want to make money, and they want to be the first to break that story. And you know what happens when you are rushing to break a story? You forget the basics of the profession. Now you've heard people talk about fake news, and the tragedy in that is that leaders from countries that we ought to respect are the ones who are pushing the idea of fabricated stories. Because we who report on these leaders, when a leader stands on that platform and says something, we as journalists, we take it as the story coming from an authoritative source. Yeah. Because we could never imagine that a leader coming from a democratic country will fabricate something and it goes online. So those are the challenges.
Not yes. To cut you short, short. You just provoked me to go back to 1983, back in Cameroon, when the catchphrase was "La vérité vient d'en haut." That is, the truth comes from above.
Exactly. So and you know, when we talk about the truth coming from above, is because every country gives their leaders access to the best information. That's why we have information services, whether it's secret service or intelligence services, because as citizens, we rely on our leaders to provide that kind of information that ordinary citizens cannot get to it. But when the leaders themselves distort the stories, a society is in danger. But when a leader is not only a leader of one country, but represents more or less a leadership of a free world, distort the story, then the world is in danger. And that is why on this World Press Freedom Day, personally, I am happy I'm a journalist, and I'm training journalists, and I'm doing the best I can to remind them that in the excitement of wanting to be the one to break the story, please check the story and make sure you're writing a story that can stand cross-checking. And also, my love for my country and my continent is compelling me to figure out with your help, with all of your help, how we can help train the next generation of journalists on the continent who are not always going to be looking up to foreign media as the source for the real news.
My two essays, Sylvia and Solange. Over to you now. First Solange and then Sylvia.
What about Stella?
No,
Stella was
yesterday.
Stella was fired.
That was yesterday.
Okay, I passed you, Dr. Sylvia.
Okay, all right.
All right. With regards to journalism, yes, Doctor, you are very right in that any story or every story that has to be published has to be verified, because there's a lot of fake news that is going on out there. And a lot of times when the fake news is going out there, it really, really, really destroys a person or people that have been talked about. And it's very, very difficult to clean that mess up. So once one verifies that this is what it is for real, you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's, there's no rush for you to publish it, because no matter how you publish it, whether you're first, second, or 10th, the news we read is all the same. We don't even know who published first or who published it last. So your best bet as a journalist is be accurate and be even with what you send to the world, so that when we as consumers of that news, or when we consumers of that broadcast that you bring out get it, it should be good, even, accurate, so that when we're also not destroying that person who you did disturb by publicizing fake news. That's just what you say.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ogoji, you read the papers, you follow television news, radio news, and all kinds of news. So what is your take on journalism, fake news, and what we're living through these days?
I wish that some African journalists or leaders can combine all those people who died because of chloroquine overdose, and all those who have died because of injecting Lysol into their body, so that we can sue the propaganda of this news.
Yes.
and get money from there to treat the family that have lost loved one. Journalism is a very important part of life, and as you really said, if you're a world leader, your word, any word from your mouth should be taken seriously. You should think and think and think. You cannot believe the amount of deaths people have died in Africa because one, they took too much chloroquine, and
Oh,
two,
wow.
the chloroquine was not available because people bought them because Trump says it is good for coronavirus. That is serious. So that is journalism at its worst. He is a world press. He should know that.
Thanks. Somebody
Is
was trying to say
is
something.
chloroquine good? Now the thing, some doctors say so.
No,
No,
there
but
been
you have to
chloroquine
take it without
toxicity
exaggerating
around the
the
world.
amount. Yes, Reverend Pan.
No, I was saying that there's been hike in chloroquine toxicities around the globe.
Yes.
Just on the continent, and of course we all know counterfeit drugs are a problem, especially on the continent. So we don't know how many people have died, not even just from the chloroquine toxicity, but from taking fake chloroquine or poison, name of chloroquine. But yes, we have less than 4 minutes.
Yes, we'll take a round of the table, beginning with Mr. Eka. You are welcome, and please make sure you participate in Africa Online, both in our WhatsApp chat room and on Sundays like this one. We have this broadcast from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Washington D.C. time or Eastern Standard Time. So, what is your last word on what we've been discussing, Mr. Eka?
Well, being the first time for me, I think it's a good program, and I would encourage that it continues.
Thank you so much, Solange. Last word.
I think we should. My last
on
word.
journalism.
I think we should talk more about the medical. Since we have a medical doctor on our team, the medical aspect, psychological aspect of this COVID and all the medications that are floating around. He may not be an expert, we don't know, but we'd like to hear from him.
Okay. Dr.
We did talk about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we talked some
that was like
in the past.
The last Sunday of the month is our medical topic.
Let's hear from Dr. Ogoji. Last word.
Well, my last word is COVID and children at home is a very serious matter. Yeah. Let's engage these children. They have a lot of energy. Keep them safe. Take them out to the woods or to places where they can practice social distancing to burn some energy, and make sure they continue to engage in learning while having fun.
Thank you very much. Professor Bongan.
Yes, my word is for us and for everyone who is listening to us today. These are strange and desperate times in the world, but strange and desperate times bring the best out of us. Let us be alert to that best we can each bring to serve the world and to serve each other.
Thank you very much. Solange, before Reverend Pam. Oh, rather, no, we already called Solange.
Yeah, already spoke.
Okay. Yeah, before my last word, Reverend Solange, you might want to, we missed you last Sunday, you might want to watch our show from last Sunday. It was mental health and mental illness.
Oh, okay.
And it's getting a lot of views, on Facebook.
I know.
Yeah, it was a very good show. I think you should watch it. But every last Sunday of the month, we have a medical topic. We've been doing that for 4 years. By the way, Africa Online Media Corporation is 4 years old. And my last word would just be, and echoing what Dr. Ogoji has said. I want to go back to the scriptures that a lot of people are now going back to. Proverbs 22:6. It said, train up a child the way they should go, and when they grow up, they will not depart from it. Use this time now for you parents who have been neglecting your children, chasing the almighty dollar. Now is the time to bond with your children. Train them the way they should go. Teach them the importance of personal hygiene, hand washing, listening to hair care experts, but more importantly, studying and doing their homework, like Dr. Ogoji said, and do some fun things with your children in and outside the house. Niason.
Thank you. Sylvia, your last word.
Just want to thank everybody that has come on the show. Thank you very much for enlightening some things we did not know. And as for our fiction writer, very good words that you have shared with us today, and we wish you all the best with the selling of that book. And looking forward to having you more on this show, Dr. Dr. Bonga, and our sister there, Sister Solange, Dr. Ogoji. Thank you very much as always. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
Thank you
Thank
all
you.
so much. And to tell you the truth, I am holding and standing firm on the Lord because He is blessing me and my family.
Yes.
Have a great Sunday, and please, may the month of May fill us with all good things. Let us go forward thanking the Lord. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.
Amen.
Thank you.